All right, welcome to your food science class. Good morning.
Yes, I love food
Good
science.
morning. Don't eat these quite yet. Good morning.
Okay, eat them all.
Thank you.
I don't need to try this. You get us to land like this, it won't break.
Did you know
But you can actually
on the
put it in
winter
the
equinox?
house.
All right. So, for bell work, from yesterday's lesson, explain what you know or remember about the denaturing of proteins. So, so we'll have a quick review. A little side note. So just go ahead and write these down into your lab notebook, and I'm going to be collecting that notebook, looking over those answers at the end of the week. So we're in our protein lab, or protein unit. All right. Okay, so the real question is, why are we holding eggs? Kind of cool. No one broke theirs yet. This is good. So what nutrients are in these eggs? What do you know about this egg?
High protein content.
High protein content. Ding ding. Yep. What else is in this egg?
I don't.
Yolk. Yolk is in this egg.
Water.
Yeah, the egg has a large percentage of water.
High energy.
High energy. What in the egg gives us energy?
Uh,
This is just kind of a side note here.
I don't know.
Crealbumin.
Is it the clear stuff?
Yeah, well, it's the carbohydrates. So we know there's protein. We know there's some fats, a little bit of carbohydrates. So, and
Okay.
Cholesterol.
energy dense. There's some cholesterol. But we mentioned the part, there's a yolk, and then there's the white called the
Albumin.
albumin.
There's membrane.
There's the membrane. Remember what that's called?
So the inner and outer.
I forget.
Inner and outer membrane.
But that's not part of the lesson today, so we'll work on that next time.
is the yolk.
Okay, so,
The vitamin is
but today we're focusing on proteins, right? So that is an energy-packed package if you think about it. That average egg is 72 calories. Just fun fact there. So, eggs, important part of baking, right? And it is, the egg white, the albumin, is an important part of cooking called a leavening agent. And what this is when you separate the white and beat it, it causes like a fluffy foam. And so that's what we're going to be working with today. And this foam is caused by something called colloidal dispersion. And this is when air is spread out throughout the proteins. And we'll see as we get going today, when you beat that egg white, that it grows up to 17 times its size. So we learned a little bit about proteins being denatured. So on a side note to our class here, you would have gotten a good background of what is actually happening when proteins are denatured. And so basically, this would be, in this lab, it's like a quick review on what we learned yesterday, and then we're going to see it in action today. So for us here, the proteins unfold, and they have two parts. They have the hydrophilic, the water-loving side, and then they have the hydrophobic, the water-fearing side. And what happens is these proteins unfold, and it's all exposed to water, and then the hydrophobic, are attracted to the inside of the air bubbles. And anyway, that's what makes these air bubbles. So that's what happens when we whisk the egg white, the albumin. The proteins are denatured. Okay, so this is different stages. As we're whipping the egg foam, whipping the egg albumin, there's different stages that it goes through. So initially you'll get small bubbles. This is called the foamy stage. Eventually you'll keep going. You'll have something called the soft peak stage, where it kind of, when you pull it up, it holds its shape, but then it tips over. And then finally the stiff peak stage here at the bottom, where you pull it up and it actually keeps its form. And so that is the stage that we'll use for cooking, such as meringues and other things like that. So, but when we're cooking, we don't just use the egg whites. We have to add something to it. And so when you add something to the egg foam, it changes, it affects it affects the egg foam, obviously, and there's different ways to measure it. So, hint, hint, I would write some of these stuff down. So first off, we can measure it by the amount of, when we add something to our egg, albumin, we can measure the amount of beating time it takes to reach the stiff peak stage.
Oh, I was that person. I'm sorry, Miss. Luckily, my egg is still relatively all together.
There's paper towels in the. There's paper towels.
I have paper towels here too.
Quick, it's still in there.
We can separate mine right now.
Oh yeah, let's do it, let's do it. So this is another technique you'll have to practice. I brought some extra eggs because part of this is you're going to be separating the albumin, and which can be kind of tricky because I was practicing this at home. And I was like, this is more difficult. It took me an extra try, so I brought some extra eggs. Cool.
There it is.
Awesome. Okay, so
Separated
we put
it,
that
guys.
there, and we'll make our egg shell. We'll make one of these our egg shell. Awesome. Yeah, just right in there. We'll get rid of it at the end. Cool. You need a paper towel?
Paper towel. When you separate yours, if you crack it right, it won't get all over your hands.
In theory, but don't worry. We'll get plenty of practice today. It'll all be okay.
Actually, most of it stayed in my egg, luckily.
So, keep. I can't stop laughing. So, to get back to what we were working on before. So, you can measure the amount of beating time it takes to get the stiff peak stage. Another thing is you can measure the height of the peaks. So it'll be from the bottom of the foam to like the highest peak, so the difference in the foam height. And then finally, the amount of leakage using a funnel. So when you make this foam, obviously it has volume, and you can put it a specific amount into the funnel and then measure how much is leaked out, which could be nothing, could be a lot. We'll find out. So, back to for our activity today. So here are our supplies. And what I'd like you to do, we're all going to work in one big group. So why don't we have everyone maybe circle around the center. That seemed to work well last time. So we'll circle around the center here. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pose a question and write a procedure using the additive of sugar. Now when we add different additives, we can measure measure how long or how you can add additives at different time in the beating wisping process, or you can add different types of additives. We have one additive today. So think about what supplies you have, pose a question, and go ahead and write. Todd? All right. Were you focusing in class? Can I see it?
We're having additives.
Additives on the
We're
egg.
having additives to the close to the egg.
All right, so why don't we go ahead, get together, write a question and a procedure using the materials here.
What if we want to add different things? We should add salt. That's silly.
Different levels of sugar. Just different amounts of sugar too.
So there's. What's the question then? Are we
Is
just
there a
adding
point
one?
where you can add every so much sugar? Like, to
So-
it won't absorb anymore?
What maybe we should ask the question, what
Yeah,
effects
how much
does,
sugar does it take to denature it?
well, I mean, like, is that the question? What effects does sugar have on denaturing, or what is the quantity of sugar that causes,
I think since we're measuring, we should talk about quantity maybe, how much.
what quantity of sugar denatures the
But it's
protein?
already denatured when you're wisping it. Right.
So think of you have a recipe and you're supposed to add sugar to the foam.
Mhm.
So we already have our set amount of sugar. What kind of questions when we're baking?
When should you add the sugar to get the peak of the timing? You've never made meringues?
I've made them once, I think.
I just eat them.
So.
I mean, I've foamed egg white before, but I never really thought, you do have the sugar,
So at what point
like,
in the process?
Should you add the
Does it
sugar
make
in
a
the
beginning or should you add the sugar at the end?
well, the question would be
What
like,
impact
at what
does sugar
time
have?
of the whisking process do you add the sugar to create the best?
But we have to write a hypothesis.
I know, and then it would be like, we believe that at the halfway point of whisking eggs, when it's at soft peaks, when it's at hit soft peaks maybe?
Oh, good call. Yeah, because maybe it won't, if we add it at first, it won't whip like it should.
Hypothesis. Hypothesize.
If the sugar is added at soft peaks, it will, what's the last stage?
So we have
Hard
the,
Stiff peaks.
Stiff peaks.
Stiff peaks.
Yeah.
Okay.
we have the foamy stage, the
Soft peaks.
soft peaks, and then the stiff peaks. Yeah. There's 3 stages.
So if it's added at the soft peaks, then what happens?
Hard peaks would be the best, would be,
It will reach the.
hard peaks sing faster? Do you think
Faster.
it's stiff peaks faster? Or should we say that it will be better or stiffer?
So think of it, you can pose more of like a question than a hypothesis.
What do you doing?
Yeah.
So like it's
What?
like it would, depending on when you would add it, it would change the breaking more. It would affect it more.
She's talking about sugar and consistency of the eggs.
Yeah, sugar isn't denaturing the eggs.
No.
But it affects, I like what you said there. It does have an effect on the denaturing.
Well, it'll either make you reach the stiff peaks or it'll keep you from reaching it.
Is it a catalyst?
Maybe it's a catalyst in the denaturing process.
Because if it does denature, but it has an effect on it.
Is sugar a catalyst in creating meringues? That's a good one.
That's a good question.
Okay, I'll add that.
Let's write the procedure. Procedure.
So you're gonna use, your recipe calls for 25 grams of sugar, just so you know.
Okay, so we need to go more
How
and
many
less than.
eggs? For how many eggs?
1 egg white.
We should go with more and less than that.
So we'll just start writing the procedure as we're just doing it, and then we'll change the amounts in the procedure, right?
Okay.
So, step 1, obtain all tools and ingredients, which includes, let's list them, whisk, egg, bowl, what else? Sugar, scale, spoon, question mark.
You need a scale.
I didn't think of what else?
Or come cook drink.
Sounds pretty good. 2,
Why?
crack
That is my friend.
egg
So you don't end up on the
carefully.
floor like mine.
You can use him later. You'll revisit him in a moment.
without
Spiky.
emptying it.
We'll come back, Spiky, don't worry.
3. You're like gonna try and keep the yolk in the eggshells and like get all the white out.
Yep.
Get all white out.
I've already demonstrated that. You guys should be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then we'll let you do it. If you're the expert.
What was the first step?
Yep,
Push it
you
off
gotta
the
push it
table.
on the table.
Draw the roll.
That procedure is very important.
4. Place.
It was a slippy little one.
How's it going so far, team? You keep working, I'm gonna look over your shoulder.
2.
That's not nice.
5. Get whisk. And start
Whisking briskly.
whisking constantly.
Yeah, a constant regular speed helps them.
Constantly. With good wrist movement.
Rhythm, I think, would be a better.
Not everyone knows how to whisk. Okay, Todd's probably not a really good whisker.
We want anybody
Excellent
to be able to
Making
follow
notes
our
here.
procedure.
Wrist movement. He's probably gonna think you have to use your shoulder and your arm. 6. And then add sugar at appropriate time. Add 25 grams of sugar. At
We said the mid
appropriate
or
time.
soft peak
Is
time.
it okay if I
Maybe we
go
can
for
do
this?
Maybe
1
I have
foam, we could do the different times of survey.
One of each, okay.
At foam stage, at soft peaks, and that
Different,
part.
they would have to be different.
Yes, we have to have 3 of that. And then what's the third one gonna, what's that called? Stiff peaks.
That's the EDP.
And then 7, observe results.
Well, with the big, I guess.
And then 8, we can test the height. We wanna test the height of the peaks, right? The height,
What will you be testing, how long?
the
it takes?
time. Yeah, we should test the time for each one. And then the leakage. Test height of peaks. Time taken,
Some random student gave me that.
leakage.
I see, okay.
I gave it to her.
Okay,
Think you're ready?
I think so too.
Yeah, I think we could try it.
Think you're ready? Quick question. Time. What time will you be measuring for each go?
From when we start whisking to when we reach the peaks.
Perfect, awesome. And do you have a consistent variable? Wait, let's see. So we're, a what?
A control.
Control.
Control. Do we
Of
have a
no
control?
sugar?
Our con-
Ding ding.
Ooh, good call.
Would that be a control though?